Hey crafty peeps, so here I come with another tutorial using watercolors. I'm doing a watercolor background using India ink, and I'm just saturating the paper right now. I'm using Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and I've previously shown these India inks in my other videos and given more information, so I checked those out. I'll see if I can leave links below for anyone who hasn't seen those. I'm really creating kind of an abstract look here, so I'm not trying to get anything specific, and I'm using paper towels to dab off in between because I will be using multiple colors. And I'm drying off in between as well so that I don't get the colors all muddled together necessarily. I want that to slightly happen, but not really very much because I want to be able to see the different colors. And I'm also going to be using some Dylusions spray as well, since they work just like watercolors in a sense, except they're just more vibrant, so you need less. And I'd keep that in mind when using them. Wherever I place the color is basically where the water is gonna, well, wherever I put the colors, wherever the water is gonna kind of like help it flow towards there. So I'd keep that in mind as well when doing this, that you're creating where that's gonna go necessarily depending on where you put the water. You can't fully control where it goes, but that's kind of part of the look of watercolors, at least this background effect I'm doing. Right now I'm using different tones, whatever colors I like. You can go ahead and use whatever colors you like to do this. And this type of background is great whether you're making a project life card or you're using it for a card, or even in a scrapbooking page or layout. Even though I'm not a huge scrapbooker, I could totally see how this would work for a layout and look really cool. I would recommend using a brush that has either a big end the way mine does, so that you get a good amount of water, because if you don't put enough water, it's not really going to properly saturate. And I really love these India inks, the way they just spread the minute they touch the water. That's the green that I'm using right there. It kind of looks more like a teal, which is why I like it as much as I do. And I'm just moving around the paper just to get the color to spread a bit more. And you can easily use your brush to kind of manipulate it a little bit if necessary. You just want to be careful you don't put too much water, and you want to make sure that you clean off your brush in between, which is why I have my trusty little water bowl and my heat gun, which I go, even if you don't see me doing it on every time, I dry in between every color when doing this technique, because unless you were wanting to get a technique where it was gonna get like all muddled together, or you wanted the colors to slightly blend, which also looks beautiful and it's great if you want to do that too, then I would do it that way. But that's not really what I was necessarily going for. I'm working, like I said, with the Dylusions as well, and as you can see, they're very pigmented and strong. I mean, you need very little to get that vibrant color, so I would keep that in mind when doing this. For this part, I just ended up using my brush because I wanted to make sure that it kind of did overlap a bit, creating kind of like a little bit of a purple effect, mixing in that pink and the blue. And then I wanted to add some more of the pink in between certain cracks, just so that I got like an even amount of color throughout this look. But there's really no wrong or right way to do this, people. I'm also using my little mini mister and just sprayed on top of all of that just to kind of like even have it blend just a little bit more. And I can see that as the colors are moving along, they kind of like, some of them did muddle a little bit, but I like that look. Now I'm working with my vellum and my embossing buddy, just to keep from any static forming on that paper, because the reason I made that background was because I was creating a card. So I figured I'd show you guys the card that I wanted to do. I'm using a stamp set by Studio Calico that has some words, because this is going to be a birthday card. And I would keep in mind when using vellum and you're going to be embossing, not to like try to put as least amount of heat as you can. Don't keep your heat gun there, because vellum will warp. At least the one I was using, which was the Recollections brand from Michaels, you know, it kind of slightly started warping, which I ended up being fine with that, but just to keep that in mind while you do this. I'm also using the gold from Recollections brand at Michaels. I absolutely love this gold. I got that recommendation for that gold from another crafter, and she like showed it on camera and it looked beautiful. If I remember her name, I'll put a link down below. I'm also using Memento Lux, and I'm using I think it's called Pink Peonies, and it's a really pretty pink color, and it kind of went with the pink that was in my watercolor background, so I decided to use that pink and mix it in with the gold to kind of break up the words a bit, and I really like the way that it looked. And I ended up using clear Ranger embossing powder to emboss the For You words. I have a little plastic Tupperware I keep it in with like a little tiny little I don't know, little scooper that I just keep in there so that it's really easy to emboss whenever I need to. And I thought it looked really pretty. And you guys, excuse my Versamark pad. I know it looks gross, but it really isn't dirty. I don't even know how I did that, to be honest with you. I get my craft on, if you know what I mean. I'm using those Studio Calico Stepping Stone, I believe it's called. Studio Calico and Hero Art stamp set for the on part. I'm really mix and matching alphas here, and I'm embossing as I do each word. So that's probably what really didn't help with the warping on the vellum. Had I just been able to emboss it all in one foul swoop, it probably wouldn't have warped as much. So that probably is part of the reason I had that issue. Now I went ahead and embossed all of that off camera so that it wouldn't take up as much time. I know most of you guys know how to emboss, and now I'm just using my tape runner to kind of glue that down to the front of my background that I created, because I want it just to be laying on top of it, and I thought it looked really pretty like that. I just had an idea for this type of card, and I was really liking how it came out. And it's kind of hard to kind of glue down vellum without partially seeing a little bit of the adhesive, but this actually works pretty well. I didn't feel like you could see, like you saw that much of the adhesive when I did this. And then I decided to add just a few enamel dots because I'm keeping this card simple. I feel like I wanted the background to stand out on its own, so I decided to use some pink enamel dots since this card is for my mom, so I wanted it to be girly. And I wanted to keep the pink, like kind of the same pink that I used in the background, and those enamel dots are actually the ones that I actually made out of those perler beads. So I'll see if I can also leave the link below in the description box in case you guys haven't seen that video, because it's really fun way to make your own enamel dots. That way you don't always have to use what's in your stash, because sometimes you get more of a variation when you make your own. It's not always about just saving money or whatnot. Then I have that white card base, which is actually a white paper from American Crafts that I cut down. It's like about an A2 size card. I would say it's slightly bigger. And I just cut it down so that it fit around that watercolor background, and it left a white border. I like the way that it looked, and I felt like that white really made that background pop just that much more. And then I decided, since I'm on this card making kick and I haven't done one in a while, I'd show you guys me doing the inside as well. I'm using that Glitz paper pad, and I really like the way that yellow paper looked because it looked all watercolory like, so it's kind of going ahead with the theme that I've already done, and I decided to add that inside. And I really like that yellow. It's vibrant. I tend to love yellows in general, so I thought that looks really nice. And then I pulled out my paper smooches set, and then I figured I would use that same pink peonies Memento Lux color inside and just put I love you versus happy birthday, because since it is a card for my mom, I wanted to make it extra special and personal. And so I really like the way that actually came out, and I did not plan on embossing that. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave me comments. I love you guys so much, and thanks so much for watching.